Hello and welcome everybody to the latest edition of Midweek Matters. We've got lots to get through on the show today, haven't we? Big round ahead, but also plenty of news. But also, guys, t-shirts are still available. Just check that link in our bio. And also, Charlie has been into me. We've got to start the podcast. Please, on YouTube, like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. It really does help support the podcast. So that's what you were telling me anyway, Charlie. And you're a trustable guy, so I believe you.
You can trust me. You got to support the podcast. So even on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, click the follow button because long term it just helps the show so much. And the bigger the show gets, Jimmy,
the better the guests.
The better the
Can
guests
they get any better?
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
I trust you, even though you're wearing that shirt at the moment. That's interesting.
Well, I mean, you can talk about my shirt. It is maybe a little bit knobby, the shirt, I'll be honest, but you've changed, mate.
Why?
Your coffee order. I might actually reveal to the audience how you order a coffee these days. So, when we work together on a Sundays, Jimmy, first of all, he has an almond milk latte for
flat white.
Flat white, apologies. Yeah, it's good. You can't latte and flat white. They're so different. Ooh. But the other thing is, you like it because I get your food for you as well. So I'll grab you some food and grab your coffee, but you can't have the coffee from the food place because apparently their almond milk's not quite right. And then the other day you complained the coffee was coming back a little bit too cold, wasn't it? So I was like, oh, no worries. I'll get it extra hot, shall I, Jimmy? And you're like, oh, not extra hot, just a little bit hot. So I had to go and order your almond latte from the other coffee shop. And do you know what I did? I asked for extra hot because I wasn't going to ask for a little bit hot. What's wrong with you?
I'm a man that knows what he likes, all right?
Yeah,
and what's the point? Because, otherwise it come back, I'm getting an inferior product and experience. Life's about experiences.
Yeah.
So why not maximize your experience?
But what's the difference between extra hot, a little bit hot? If it's a bit too hot, it cools down. That's the beauty of hot things. They cool down to the right temperature.
Because this is where you're just not looking at it through the keyhole, and you need to be like, oh, well, you're not supposed to get the milk too hot. It ruins the enzymes and the
enzymes. And you have no idea what you're talking about.
There's a reason why you don't boil milk because it ruins it. It stretches the enzymes, which affects the product, which affects the taste.
You've lost the plot.
No, I haven't. No. Any listeners out there?
But see, do you not think that's where you've gone wrong?
Let's get a barista on the show. Look. Let's get a barista.
Yeah.
Phone in next week. Tell us about why you only put milk to a certain temperature, and also that one particular place doesn't serve great coffee anyway. So I'll get you to go to somewhere else. So why would you, as a mate, wouldn't you just go? You know what? I'm gonna get him.
Hey, no, I do it. I do it, and I do it happily. What made me question it was when you couldn't have it a certain temperature.
Because you were fannying around getting back. You were fannying around getting back. And I said, just get the coffee last.
I always get the coffee. Well, what I do is I order the food, then I go and get the coffee, and then by the time I get back to the other place, the food's ready, and I sort of
But all that time that you're wasting,
just
you want to be like optimizing my experience with the coffee, and you fannying about going back to get the food is cooling it down even further.
I'm doing you a big favor by getting the food. Big favor, and
I always say thank you. But look, I know what I like. You know what? My parents had this. We're looking after. My nan got to a point where she couldn't go to the shops anymore. So my parents had to go.
Yeah,
and like. They'd remember, oh bloody hell, Nan, she's like very particular with which brand of biscuits. I'm like, she's fucking 90. Like, she knows what she likes.
But
she's not got long left.
Yeah,
let the poor woman have a specific brand of jammy Dodgers or custard creams. And let her just enjoy them. Like, what's the point in delivering an inferior product?
You're not a 90-year-old who's close to death. You're a fit, healthy young man
who knows what he likes.
Who is complaining about the temperature of a coffee. Do you know what you can do? Worst case, if I'm a little bit cold. No, you can always microwave it. Heat it up that way.
Cardinal sin. No, you don't put coffee in a microwave. Not barista-made, high-quality coffee.
I just thought that people should know that you're a coffee wanker.
No,
that's all that I want the people to know.
You can put it that way, but you know what? I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people that are like, oh God, this isn't as good as what it could be. I just you
optimize.
All about optimization.
Yeah.
Peak experience.
You're an enzyme guy.
Peak performance.
You're a big enzyme guy.
And I know what I like. And there's no point in trying to pussyfoot around everything. But it's okay, thanks. It's like, oh, well, it could be better. all about improvement.
Okay, fair enough.
Improving. I think
well-
you know what? Well, you know what this is, Charlie. This is just a massive deflection from the fact that we went head to head last week.
In the multi,
didn't
mine,
we?
yeah.
Yeah.
You got a multi. You did well. First one of the year, is it?
No, it's not.
First one. I
And
think
you laughed at my suggestion. Oh, Jason Sarby's been out of form. He's never going to score 2 tries. Oh no! And you know what? Then you did. You went, I'm going to back the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Instead of just you went head to head. You weren't prepared to take on a different game.
Yeah, that was a mistake. Do you want to know what else I should probably say is I apologize to all Warriors fans because last week I said the Warriors were on a steady decline and they actually won that weekend before that and then they went and won this weekend, so they've won 2 in a row.
Yeah.
So hardly a steady decline. I apologize to all Warriors fans.
You'll get nowhere.
I need to be better.
You do.
But speaking of improving, I want
Yes.
to find out how you think Shane Flanagan needs to improve the Dragons in this.
How do you feel, Jimmy? Let's find out. Thanks to Tui's.
Love that jingle, Jimmy. And
great,
today,
isn't it?
we're going to find out in our favourite segment, your Dragons fix-it plan. How do you feel Shane Flanagan can turn the Dragons around?
Well, where do we start? How long have we got for this feature?
Well, I think there's a few elements we need to get to. I think we need to talk about the players they need to recruit, what he needs to prioritise, who you think he could bring into the club with him. So, yeah, take it away.
Well, look, it's a huge job on his hand. I think, first of all, the conversations need to be had, and I'm hoping those conversations have already had to the board and the other key decision makers that they know how they're going to make decisions. So, is this Shane Flanagan's ship, or is there a couple of people in there turning the wheel, deciding where we dock, what our destination is, and every stop along the way? I also think talk of making this a premiership contender need to be forgotten about. Slow, incremental improvement. The positive things for Shane Flanagan are, with the current roster that they've got, I believe it's underperforming. So there's more he can get out of that. The current group aren't playing at their potential, I believe, and certainly weren't under Anthony Griffin for season 2023. Yeah, you can look back to those 5 or 6 games and say, oh, they lost by less than a try, but there's no way that they were performing near their potential. So there's a huge potential upside there.
Yep. Just quickly on those players, they talk about the roster. Which players do you think they should prioritise keeping long term? They've obviously only got one Origin player at the moment in Ben Hunt. Jaden Sewer's played Origin. Zach Lomax has the potential to play Origin.
To be honest, Charlie, I think they're all playing for their futures.
Okay.
So they've all got to get to their potential. I think, arguably, other than Ben Hunt, all have underperformed to their potential. We've seen a little bit of Jack DeBellin go back to that 2018 form. Need to see more of that, more involvement from him, or a similar level of involvement from him. Blake Laurie always tries his guts out, but for the rest of the team, I think there's more in them, and they'd know that. They'd know that, and then I think one of the makeup of the spine needs to be decided. The Ben Hunt situation needs to be figured out. And Ben Hunt needs to be part of that conversation with Shane. So that needs to get cleared up almost now, because that's going to affect the ability to recruit. So is Ben going to stay or is he not? I think if he stays, realistically, he's 33. I think he's got 2 years left. Is he going to win a premiership with the Dragons? Probably not. I don't think it's a 3-year project. I think it's minimum 4 or 5. So okay, let's look at the spine, and okay, this is where the Dragons are at salary cap wise. I don't know if they can go too deep into the market for next year and make a massive roster change. They don't have the finances there to do that. There are a couple of players who are off contract, but there's none that you'd say were on massive money, and all the sort of major stars have been signed up for the following years. You look at guys like Stephen Crichton was off contract, so
Moses Mbai is coming off contract at the end of this year.
I don't think, but again, I don't think he's on one of those big money contracts. I think most of his
Tigers
wage
were chucking in a bit, were they?
Were contributed by the Tigers.
The other names who are coming off contract are sort of more on that lower end of the roster.
So there's not a lot to work with there. I spoke about the spine that they've got. They probably need to figure out, okay, is Sullivan, because I think Sullivan's on a pretty decent wage. So is Sullivan 3 years waiting for his halfback spot? I don't know. That's what they need to figure out.
What do you think they should do with Ben Hunt? Not look at both sides. Ben Hunt, should they move him on?
I still think that the Dragons at the moment, it's such a tough one, Charlie, because I think in that team, he's better served playing at 9.
Yeah. But he's not going to want to play 9.
No, he's not.
So that means he probably has to leave. And if you talk about it being a 4 or 5 year project, that means Ben Hunt's not going to be there when they're contending for a premiership anyway.
But he can still have an impact on that on that build.
Absolutely.
I think, if Ben Hunt isn't going to be the 9, if he's going to be the 7, then you look to likely let Sullivan go, or say Sullivan's going to be a 6 and then Moan go, and then the money that is moved from there, target a top level number 9, which is bizarre to say considering we all know they let Cameron McInnes go and Reece Robson go out the door.
Yeah.
In recent years. So I think identifying who's going to be your number 9 and maybe look at who would potentially want to come there. Like, Flano's got to be able to sell the club as well. Like, any sort of top-level player that's coming off contract or anyone with any ambition is going to be hesitant because of, the negative news stories that have surrounded the Dragons in recent years. So that's another thing that Flano's got to go in and sort out and say he works in the media, so he can influence the changing of the narrative. But also, I tell you what, boys, let's not bag the club. Let's not create headlines by ourselves. If something goes down, let the media do the work to find out the headline. Like players coming out and basically saying that they don't know what, didn't want to be there or whatnot, or people leaking information. So stop that. Stop the rot at the club.
Because also the Dragons don't get as much of that Sydney media attention. Like they don't have all the big journos rocking up there every day trying to break stories because of where their training is most of the time in the Gong.
So, Matt, look, there's so much. I think, the spine is the big one.
Yep.
Because, there's, and the spine might be exactly as it is now, but I think a good solid dummy half could make a difference. Little came on a 1-year deal.
They've re-signed him.
Re-signed.
Now. Yeah.
I know that, and Little has done all right, but he can't play 80 minutes. And he's done okay, but I think he's probably one of those that is maxed out at his potential. So a good number 9 would be a start.
Yep.
And unfortunately, that might be Ben Hunt, but then he's going to not want to do that. So then you're going to have to.
Well, then you're going to have to move
shuffle the deck chairs a little bit. But if Ben Hunt does leave, you then get a massive war chest. The only problem is, though, with the new team in the Dolphins coming in, they are cashed up to the nines. They didn't get a marquee. So they're going head-to-head against them. Now, if you're a player, which is more appealing at the moment, the Dragons or the Dolphins? And then any player who's off long term or coming off 25, 26... There's talk of an 18th franchise coming in then. So Dragons have got their work cut out. I think the focus for Flano should be work with what he's got because he's not got much room to manoeuvre. And he'd know that. He'd manage the roster, get an upside in what's going on. Stop self-sabotaging ourselves and keep the board at arm's length if that's the way they've gone about having their decision-making model. Those are the 3 things that I'd look at doing.
I like that, Jimmy. I really do like that. And in terms of those young players that you speak about,
well, Flano spoke about a pathway system, right?
Yeah.
And implementing that, but you're not going to see fruits from that for like 5-6 years, because that doesn't change overnight. Like, culture doesn't change overnight. So I haven't been there for a long time. Perhaps Flano wants to implement a culture change and his ID on the team and on the pathway system. So I think currently, at the moment, the Dragons have access to the third biggest junior nursery in New South Wales. So they're going to develop players by sheer volume. But when was the last time they actually developed an Origin player? Jack DeBellum played in 2018. I think he was 26 or 27 at the time. There's been some players that have come through with high hopes and high potential, but not gone on to, to realise their potential. Reece Robson, he's, developed into that Origin player at other places, but Flano can, I think he's saying the right things there in, looking at the pathway systems, but that's not Flano.
Yeah.
You don't want your head coach like putting too much time and energy into that. I personally think he's got to get the right people involved to realise the value that can bring to him in 3 or 4 years' time. So he knows he's got his people in there that are putting traits in people, developing skills, being ready to come play first team at the Dragons in 4 or 5 years' time, so he can go, bink, here we go, lob you in. I trust the people that have developed you. I'm going to use them now to play first grade.
Yeah, well, that's something he did really well at the Sharks. And Wade Graham credits that premiership in 2016 when they won the premiership with bringing those two or three players in each year as they progressed, getting to that point.
Yeah.
Like guys like Luke Lewis, bringing him and the impact he had on the club. And just he's really good at marking those guys that become available, knowing what they're going to bring to the club and signing the right players that they need. So that is one of his strengths.
Yeah, well, in terms of like the signings, like and who he can bring in, and often you see players that when they change clubs, they all of a sudden start playing a lot better. The Dragons would be a great place to go and get some of those players from at the moment. So I think there's a lot of players that aren't quite realising their potential. But then he's probably got to look across the market and say, who's signed somewhere else that isn't playing at their potential that will come here with a fresh start.
Yeah.
And they'll get the best out of them. Because it wouldn't surprise me to see some Dragons players leave, and then in 12 months' time we go, how did they let him go?
Yeah. Well, like Jaden Sewer is probably someone like that.
Jaden Sewer, Jack Bird, probably not playing at his ultimate. He's played all right this year, but it's nowhere near the Jack Bird that was killing it for the Sharks in 2017, 2016.
There is I saw Fox Sports post an article. They tossed up a few names of players they could potentially go after. Teague Wilton's off contract.
Teague Wilton is an outstanding footballer. I think he's an amazing edge forward. He'd be great to sign there, but then is the area of back row like a real prime area of concern?
I think it is. They're playing a lot of Ben Murdoch-Masilla's playing a lot of time there. They've got Jaden Sewer, but I mean, I think they could probably do with another back rower.
Yeah.
You would think. They threw up Luke Brooks.
Well, Brooks
probably only makes sense if Ben Hunt leaves.
Hunt goes,
and that's the same with Sean Johnson as well.
Sean Johnson's not going to go.
Connor Watson.
Yeah, I mean, Connor Watson would be a great 14.
Yep.
But again, is that a priority?
Yeah.
Maybe that's Connor Watson would be great, and a guy that's come off injury with, again, a huge potential upside.
Another couple outside backs, although they're kind of locked in with some big money in Lomax and Sully, but Paul Alamotti, he might be squeezed out with the Dogs signing Cherry and Crichton. Jake Cavarillo probably in the same boat there. The Dogs are going to have to lose a couple of those promising players.
They are. But also, again, you go through the Dragons team on paper. So you got Sloan at fullback. They probably need to make a decision on him. Then you've got
Ravalawa and Fine.
Ravalawa. It's both are
decent wingers.
Yeah, they're both pretty good.
Ravalawa makes some mistakes, but he can score some tries
Your centres, you've got Sully and Lomax, and you go, they're pretty good, right? On their day.
Yeah.
Not consistent, but on their day. Then you've got Amone and Hunt, and you go, well, not bad halves pairing.
Yeah.
Laurie, DeBellin,
Strong front row.
Yeah, strong front row.
Yeah.
Little, okay, he's doing all right, but maybe number 9. Then edge forwards. You've got
Bird, Sewer.
Bird and Sewer, and you go,
Bird's been playing lock a little bit as well.
Made up myself. It's strong experience. You know, there's no.
Moses Hemby, decent utility.
You know, a lot of that's what I'm saying. A lot of decent players that you know, you go on their day, they're pretty capable. But it's just about getting them to play more consistent, having that on their day be every day.
Yeah.
But then realizing from those players who's not gonna raise their standard.
Yeah.
And then go, okay, well, we'll let that person go, or we're going to bring someone in.
And this is probably a bit of a depressing prospect, but you say it's 5 years. That's probably generous, 5 years. It probably could take a lot longer than that for Dragons to rebuild. And the reality is, you know how the Bulldogs this year, they haven't won that many games. They're not going that good. The Bulldogs, Cameron Tirado, everyone understands this is a long project of the Dogs.
Yeah,
Dragons
that's
exactly
understood.
the same boat.
But then
Flanagan probably won't get as much leeway as Tirado's getting because there's already parts of the media that seem to criticize him and think shouldn't be coaching anyway. Even though that's very wrong. But he's probably going to have more pressure on him.
Yeah, there's that game that is played. People want to see. People want instant success. Like people want to see Shane Flanagan go in there and replicate what he did at the Sharks, but it take him a year. And I think, you know, the benefit of the Bulldogs is Cam Serraldo, rookie coach, signed a 5-year deal. So that sends the message to okay, we're not expecting anything. You know, if Shane Flanagan signs a 3-year deal, and really at the end of year 2, they know.
Yeah.
They know whether he stays or not. But with Cam Serraldo, at the end of year 2, it's like, how are we tracking? And also the Bulldogs went on a big recruitment drive. They brought in Billy Kickow, Pangai Jr. last year, Matt Burton the year before.
Fox.
Matt Burton, Fox.
Yeah.
It was Pangai Jr. and Kickow for this year.
Yep.
Burton and the Fox the year before. Next year they bring in Crichton, and they're still active in the market. So, but where you're looking at the Dragons, it's like, well, where's the...
They haven't been able to bring in some of those, but they've been in for those players a lot of the time as well. They've tried to sign them. They haven't been able to bring them.
So, look, how long have we spoke for there on...
A long time.
A long time. You know, and these are the conversations that Shane Flanagan's going to have.
Yeah.
And it's a huge amount of work.
Yeah.
Huge amount of work. And even that, by saying it's a huge amount of work, he can't be doing this all by himself. He's got to get a very strong team in that he trusts and, you know, realize, well, he's worked there at the Dragons before, so he knows who would have his back and who wouldn't. So that's a real positive sign that he can go in and he knows who's who in the zoo, and he goes, you're gone, you're staying, you're gone, you're staying. Now, this guy, he's worked with me in the past because you're not getting results in this area, so that's why I'm bringing the guy in.
Fair enough. And that's all thanks to Tui's. How do you feel, Jimmy?
Feel like a Tui's.
Or 2?
3.
Let's move on then. You spoke about Connor Watson potentially going to the Dragons. Mitchell Pearce potentially getting a reunion at the Roosters, maybe taking Connor Watson's spot to play 14. There's talk about him. That will be his role if he comes back. Probably he's got one more year contracted to the Catalans, but this would be for next year, so he'd be coming early. I mean, this one, News Corp is saying it's more likely than not, but I really struggle to see this happening.
It shouldn't happen. I don't think. Like Mitchell Pearce is playing really well over there. Catalans are top of the league, or I think they're joint top with Warrington. Like, I don't know. I think it'd be a mistake for Mitchell to come back to the NRL.
Yeah,
it'd be a mistake for him to come back. I think I've seen that happen before, where players have gone there, come back, and they've regretted it. I think it's speculation at the moment, but also, you know, he's coming back as a 14. Really? Like, where does he fit in there between Walker, between Keary?
Yeah, you got Cheese playing 9. Probably needs Turpin on the bench to give him 20 minutes off.
You've got Walker, Keary, Manu.
Yeah.
Like,
Sandon Smith's playing halfback for them this weekend.
Like, like Mitchell Pearce is where you get. I don't know. Like they know what they're doing there, but I wonder for their inability to attack well this year. They're down in performance. I just don't know if bringing Mitchell back is going to make much difference to them. They've obviously already signed Dominic Young and Spencer Leniu.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if Mitchell Pearce can go from being, running the show at Catalan to accepting a role at 14 as well. I think that's a big change in responsibility and all that, and then all the hoo-ha and the media around everything he does off the field,
Yeah, I've
just
got.
enjoying
You
himself
see him on
in-
Instagram. He looks like he's having the time of his life
just
as well.
enjoy
in
himself
France.
in Catalan, in France, and
He'd be 35 next year in April as well. So he's getting on a bit. Maybe
and then to come back and play that 14 role at 35.
See, that would be the only reason. It's like have that sort of fairy tale ending at the Roosters. Comes back and gets that farewell. I mean, like you got that fairy tale ending.
Yeah,
you went back to St Helens.
Yeah,
and you won the premiership, and I'm sure that was an amazing way to finish your career.
Yeah, it was. It was, Charlie. But I just think each case on its own individual merit, and I just don't know if it'd be the right move for Mitchell himself. I really don't. He seems to be really enjoying his life there. He doesn't get the pressure like in Catalonia. I mean, look, if he does come back, I think good on him. Support him, back him all the way. We certainly wouldn't be bagging him, but he needs to think carefully about this.
Yeah, fair enough. And moving on then to Origin, Brad Fittler has come out and labelled the conversation around his selection a circus. He's called it's just a circus around selections these days. It's hilarious.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course it is. He's right. He's 100% right. It is a circus, but it's always going to be unless he picks the obvious team.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so many shows around now as well.
Yeah.
Where there's just going to be banter about everything.
And imagine that. That looks about right. Imagine us getting the Origin teams in and just going, yeah, I think that's pretty fair, to be honest. Utoya Kamanu. Yeah. Oh, Hines isn't playing. No, oh, yeah, that's fair enough. It's going to generate conversation. And people are making informed comments, evidence-based comments. They're right to say, well, doesn't that seem odd that Hines was picked at 14 and would have been that if Cleary had gone down before game one, that Hines would have played. And then that situation manifests. Game 2 comes along, 3-4 weeks later, and Hines isn't even in the team. So, call it a circus, but people are going to talk and question it. And, and Fittler's a smart man. He knows the game within the game, that people from Queensland are going to be staring the pot, poking the bear, poking the fire. What's going on here? Oh, New South Wales, they can't pick and stick. What, another half pairing? It's just part of the theatre. And Freddie's part of it himself.
Yeah.
He's
part of Channel 9.
Yeah, he's part of Channel 9. And I agree with him. It is a circus, but it's one that, buy your tickets, roll up, get your front row seats.
It is. I'm a bit concerned as a New South Wales fan going into this game. There's a lot of players coming off injuries in that team, and then Regan Campbell-Gillard didn't get picked. He's coming off injury, but you think he plays for Australia in the front row. You think he probably makes the New South Wales team.
Well, there was big controversy why he didn't get picked last year. Did he play game 1, but then didn't play game 2 or game 3?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. I also want to know where does Freddie Fittler go to a circus at?
Probably Cirque du Soleil.
Cirque
He'd be
du
at
Soleil.
top level. He'd have a little booth. You imagine sort of Channel 9 hooks him up with some good corporate seats.
Yeah.
He's there. Maybe goes backstage, meets the circus performers.
Yeah. Imagine that. You just sat there one day and then is that Nico Hines on the rings? Have you ever heard Carl Pilkington?
Which NBA? No,
Have you ever heard Carl Pilkington where he says, it's like the news thing,
Monkey News?
No, it's where the hippo swallows the guy off the trampoline.
I haven't heard that one though.
Probably cut that out.
Which NRL player would make a good circus
Oh, that's what it is.
performer?
Hippopotamus. Like it's he'll go the headline and Ricky's like, I want to hear what that is. Hippopotamus. He's like, mate, there's this hippo and it's just like near this trampoline at the circus. Like this guy's just jumping. And then like, hippo swallows him. Hippopotamus. He's like, Ricky's just like, bullshit.
But hippos are the biggest killers as far as animal goes.
I do, but I don't think it's at the circus. I think they're actually vegetarians.
Yeah, but they kill.
Yeah, I know, but they don't kill to eat. They just kill you.
They get scared. And they sort
I
of
don't know what they're thinking, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't go to court, so they can't. Maybe they're just psychopathic.
Maybe.
And they just think, we'll make them look like this is an accident.
Yeah, because they're really intelligent animals. They say they got the thinking of sort of 10-year-old childs, the hippos, so they're probably conscious going out
So
there
they know what
causing
they're
chaos. They know what they're doing. On the Mitchell Mose, Nico Hines debate.
Which one would be the best circus act?
Yeah. You'd pay to watch Nico do anything. But Sharks, a lot of the talk's been about Nico Hines' record against top 8 teams. Last 2 years at the Sharks against top 8 teams. So these are teams that last year were in the top 8 at the end of the year when they played them. This year, teams that are currently in the top 8. This year, they've only had one win against top 8 teams. It was against Manly Seagulls, who, based on wins, aren't actually a top 8 team. And over the last 2 years, they've had 5 wins, 12 losses against top 8 teams. I don't know if that's a slight on Nico Hines, but that's concerning for the Sharks.
It is concerning for the Sharks. I had no idea that was the case.
I didn't realize it was that bad until I had a look at it. And one of those wins was against the Storm when they had everyone out at Origin. So it actually is really bad reading if you're a Sharks fan.
Yeah, it is. I had no idea about that.
Would that come into your thinking when picking a halfback for Origin?
Yeah, I think it would. I think you'd look at it and go, well, I say this, not all runs, tackles, passes, tries are created equally. Like Alex Johnson, Manan comes up again. She could score some of them.
Third mention on the podcast this week.
Like she could score some of those tries.
But
then, if you look at the Xavier Coates try on the weekend where he out jumps half the Sharks team, she ain't scoring that.
No.
She's built like Brian Toto as well.
Yeah, just runs over.
Yeah, just
bang.
Yeah.
What was that? The point there, though? What was your point?
The point there is because not all wins are created equally. So, you can look at, or not all performances are the same because the performances are based on the opposition.
Yeah.
So you get more, if you do the old give yourself a rating out of 10, well, a higher rating against the Panthers is better than a higher rating against, say, a stereotypical Tigers. So if you give yourself, you play Penrith or Melbourne or one of the top teams and you get an 8 out of 10, and then you compare that to you play the Tigers the next week and then you get an 8 out of 10 again, which is more valuable?
The win.
No, the 8 out of 10 personal performance.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, the 8 out of 10 performance as an individual and as a team against the higher ranked teams means more than an 8 out of 10 as an individual or as a team against the lower base.
Yeah,
team.
of course.
Do you
I don't know in those.
So,
I don't know in those losses if Nico Hines was the Sharks' best player and he dominated. I don't know.
This is my point. But people look to the halves and say that they're in control of the wins or whatever it may be. But not all wins are created equally.
Yep. Yeah, you'd have to go and analyse every game to, and I'm sure New South Wales do that though.
I guarantee that they do.
Yeah. Every single game, Freddie, Brandy, Mary, whoever's involved there would be sitting down and you would imagine rating every single player.
Well, sorry, and even to the point about try scorers, right? Well, Alex Johnson might be the top try scorer, but does that then equate to he's the best finisher or the best winger?
No, hence why he's not picked in Origin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that all these metrics are if you go on a stat website and look at meters gained, win loss rate, they're not all the same. And because we don't play each other home and away once and twice, like it is a disjointed draw as well. So you can have that where you're playing less less higher ranked teams based off a fortunate draw.
Yeah, well, the Sharks and Cowboys had that last year,
Yeah.
and they came second and third. Yeah.
So maybe that is the reason, but maybe with. Well, but then you say maybe that's the reason. Well, why would you have that? That record hasn't changed in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. You're 100% right.
Maybe it would be an argument to say I don't like if at the beginning
if he wasn't picked in the 14
picked from
role.
the beginning,
Yeah.
and you go, oh, why? And then we in the media do our digging. Oh, that's probably why.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was picked 3 weeks ago,
I think Moses is going to do a great job for New South
He will.
Wales.
He will.
And he's a fantastic. I think Nico Hines would have done a great job for New South Wales as well. But let's preview the round, Jimmy. Plenty of great games this weekend. And I was really shocked when I read this before this game. It's the Cowboys against the Panthers. Kick us off Friday night. 5 Origin players on both sides.
wow,
So 10 of the Origin players come from the Cowboys and Panthers.
interesting stat.
That is, isn't it? Nearly a third.
It's a great stat though.
Great stat.
Yeah, well done.
It's funny the Cowboys, though, they're not going that good. And they've got that many Origin players. Maybe it's positive signs for New South Wales, even though Robson is playing for New South Wales.
Even though,
Anyway, how do you think this game's going to go?
well, this is my same game multi-game.
Oh, is it?
Yes, hand-picked.
What do you like then?
Penrith minus 3.5 and Spencer Leniu anytime try scorer. $7.81.
Spencer Leniu, I like it. This is a really interesting game because the Cowboys, I mean, Gus Gould reckons they can still win the premiership.
Well, I mean, they can. I don't think they're going to, though.
Do you know who I think will win the premiership?
Who?
The Penrith Panthers.
Again, back to
Yeah.
back to back.
Mate, you look at the stats, they've got the best
Their
defense.
defense is insane.
They've got the best defense by a mile, and their attack is one of the best attacks in the comp as well. Right up there with the Bunnies and like they're going to be tough to beat.
They are. But I'm backing them to win this week. I know that.
Yeah, I like the bet. It's a good bet. Then
Thank
the
you.
second game, Saturday, Knights Roosters. Manu's moved to fullback, obviously to cover Tedesco, but I reckon the 5'8" experiments now are over for Joey Manu. I think he
reckon?
goes back once Tedesco's back. I think he goes back to the centres.
And Walker comes back.
When he's fit, he's not fit just yet, but yeah, when he's fit. I just don't think it's worked.
It's strange, isn't it? Like he's just not clicked there. I think, like most of us, had so much hope for him, but good to see him at fullback.
I think that's his best position, fullback.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, how he was in the World Cup,
it's
unbelievable.
insane. But yeah, you'd think that move to 5'8" would have worked in his favour, but just doesn't seem to have. But
I mean, and I guess the thing is, like, they're all out of form. The whole team's out of
that's
form.
it. Yeah, and once it clicks, it'll click. I said at the start of this week, I think the next 3 games for the Roosters are vital. I know they won't say that, and they'll just say week at a time. Next 3 games before they bye, huge. And I've got them for the win this week up there against the Knights.
I've got them for the win as well. It's my same game multi on Ladbrokes. I've got Sydney Roosters to win, Daniel Tupou to score a try, Joey Manu at fullback to score a try at $11.19.
Oh, the guru could be back.
I'm actually going to be at that game as well.
Oh, nice.
Knights
Good on you.
Roosters, so up in Newey. But I think, the Roosters, I think they'll get it clicking. The Knights aren't going as bad as...
And you know what, mate? The Knights were amazing against the
Yeah, they were
Broncos
really
last week.
unlucky to lose that game.
Yeah, they were. Greg Marju dropped for missing the bus.
That's not the first time a Knights player has been dropped for missing the bus. I think it happened a couple of years ago. There was a player dropped.
It did.
The thing about the Knights that I really liked from the weekend, I love what Kalen Ponga said about Newcastle. He's all in.
Yeah.
And the Knights fans are some of the most loyal fans in the comp. They always rock up.
Geez, I might change my tip.
I convince you to go to the Knights. It's gonna be a sunny day in Newcastle. Be a packed house.
What are you, like a weather guru now? Mate, it's Wednesday.
Well, I've checked the
Oh, no,
app.
it's
I'm-
Thursday.
I'm gonna
And
be there.
Are you checking the weather?
Well, I'm gonna be there, so I want to check the weather to see what the weather's gonna be like in Newcastle.
Gee, if it rains, Charlie, our listeners are going to be up you for the
Yeah.
rent. I'm not going to change. I'll stick with the Roosters.
Okay, then the second game Saturday It's the how do you feel match. It's a Tui's how do you feel match. That's what the campaign was around. Was the Eels Manly Seagulls back in the day. So it's good to see that game. I mean, it's a really interesting game because you've got no Moses. You got no Dylan Brown, obviously part of the no fault stand down policy, and then on the Manly side you got no Turbo, no DCE. There's key players missing for both sides, and it probably makes it quite an even contest.
Yeah, it's very even. This
Yeah.
I like Manly though.
You like Manly?
Yeah, I'm liking Manly for this one.
You were right about them last week, mate. Just quickly on Dylan Brown and the no fault stand down policy. We obviously haven't seen the incident, so we can't comment on that side of things. We have no idea what exactly took place, but he could miss the rest of the year.
Yeah, he could do.
He could miss the rest of the year. I don't know if I am a huge fan of the no fault stand down policy. I just don't know if it has the same impact that the NRL thinks it does. So with the Jack DeBellin situation, that obviously made sense because there was so much media attention on it. Just take him out of the game and, let that process go through. But that's a very serious charge. This one is not at that level, that 11-year level. So to have the discretion come in, I think you've got to actually just have a hard and fast rule. All right, this is the cutoff. Anything under is not part of it. Because
Yeah, well, they brought that in to protect themselves, like for cases like this.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so
But they didn't stand George Burgess down for a similar charge.
They
It's
didn't.
yeah.
Didn't. But that particular case was, I don't believe there was any like CCTV evidence.
Yeah,
for
okay,
them
yeah.
to look at, and
Yeah.
whether or not they've looked at that, and each case should be judged on its merits.
Yep.
I think, there's slight differences between them, and look, it's something I hate talking about because you feel like you're walking on eggshells and you're frightened to death of saying the wrong thing, even though we're on a podcast that we get full control over. But I just, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
And look, I get. Well, I guess my answer is get the law to sort it out.
Yeah, I mean, but does that mean that he needs to? I think the no fault stand down policy kind of just alludes to guilt. And now Dylan Brown, even though we have the court system that can handle it, that can take care of that process, he's not playing footy. I mean, I just don't know. Like now, the thing is with the court cases, the courts are really slow at the moment.
Yeah.
So might not play again this whole year. I think he's got back in court in 3 weeks' time. We get some more information then, but yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully it gets resolved sooner than later.
The
but I
other
don't
thing out of
bank
that
on it.
game, we got Ryan Madison playing at 5'8" for him.
Interesting move.
Yeah. I think he played a little bit of half early in his career, didn't he?
Big body though.
Yeah.
Good with ball. And obviously without Brown and Moses, they probably need a little bit of experience in there.
Yep.
I think that's probably what this is. A bit of a cooler head, a head that knows the plan.
Yep.
And it's not too young and experienced. And obviously, if they're at their reserve grade level, they would, whoever those two halves would be, would combine. But then the cauldron of NRL, Mattison's experience of being there will help.
The other factor of this game is the Arthurs going head to
Yes.
head. Jacob Arthur brushed by his dad.
Get that into
kicked
your dad.
to the curb by Brad
Yeah.
Arthur.
Look, I'm backing Manly to win. It'd be great imagine if Arthur kicks it like a winning field goal.
I think I can see Jacob Arthur scoring 2 tries.
Match-winning
Field goal as well.
Field goal off the post.
Yeah. Then catches the bounce.
Just doing that. Shh.
Yeah. And then points at the commentary box.
Or
The
the coach's box.
Yeah. So you got Manly.
Yes.
All right. The last game of not the last game. Sorry, I skipped one.
Storm,
Tiger
really?
Storm. Can't skip that one.
No.
It's a classic.
Could be anything.
Could be anything.
Could literally be.
Yeah.
Like, how good were the Storm on the weekend? But then they were
Amazing.
absolute pants the week before.
And then they lose all their origin
Yeah.
players. But then the Tigers have lost Brooks to
Yeah.
the hammy. Api Coruscant's out long term.
Storm.
Final game of the round, Sharks, Doggies. We spoke about the Sharks a bit there, about that horrible record. The Dogs are not a top 8 team, so I think the Sharks will win by 40.
Look, I want to stick solid with the Dogs. I think there was plenty of signs against the Parramatta Eels, and there was opportunities created. If they ice those moments, they make more of a contest of it, and that first try, well, Come on.
I sort of start to zone out now when you start tipping the Dogs because it's just
Yeah.
every week, no matter who they're playing, even though they're probably not going to win, you tip them.
Well,
And it's
thanks
just
for pointing
bias,
that out,
mate.
Charlie.
It's just bias.
well, okay. Well, I'll be honest. Yeah, I am, and I don't care.
yeah,
Independent as always.
fair enough.
Yeah, we've got no game. Hashtag we've not got no game.
But you're
Sort of
tipping
like-
the Dogs.
But I'm tipping the Dogs.
Surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
Tune in next week to hear Jimmy tip the Dogs
yeah,
again.
tune in next week to see you in a better shirt. You should be wearing our merchandise.
I will, mate. Yeah, no, I will.
That's not a buy round official apparel. Is it?
Apparel, yeah. Is that cup of tea hot enough for you? Or is it cool?
Yeah,
down
well, I
now?
smashed it, didn't I? Yeah, but it's already finished. So, yeah, just go and get us a coffee, but not extra hot, just a little bit hot. Yeah, thanks, man. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. As always, please like, subscribe, leave us a comment, let us know how you're feeling, and we'll catch you next week.